virtually, and Tanya is able to be out there.
Yep.
So just moving on to the agenda, you're all pretty familiar now, I think, with the structure of these meetings, but please feel free. This is open to discussion and conversation throughout. If you have any questions, comments, or clarification, please just raise that in the middle of the discussion. That's no problem. It's just the general agenda, so we'll just kind of brush over the administrative program recap. I think everybody is on this call or this meeting is being pretty familiar now with the administrative program. Then walk through some of the quarterly updates and then some other work underway, as well as some of the recent water system performance, emergency response, we'll touch on briefly, and then also post-administrative plan progress, as well as the financial health of its water system and its discussion over water rates and billing. And then just to wrap up with some upcoming activities and dates, and then further public comment at the end. Jumping through general housekeeping, I think everybody's familiar as well. If you ever need to take any calls or anything, we just ask that you step out or mute online. You need to take those, no problem at all. Please, I'm sure you've all signed in, or if you know we've recorded your name on the attendance, that's no problem. And yeah, as we just always ask, that's respectful discussion is always encouraged. I know a lot of these topics can get debated thoroughly, but we're always happy to discuss all sides of them, but we just ask that that discussion is respectful. And then on Zoom, this meeting is being recorded. We just posted to the Keeler CSD website after each meeting, so that if anybody wasn't able to attend, they can go and watch through that recording as well. I know it. Noah Bricker's jumped online as well. All right. So just moving on forward, you're already familiar with all of our staff here at PNP. So Steve Spencer, he's our principal engineer, not on the line right now, but he does assist with Tanya on all engineering for the water system under the administrator responsibilities. And then my name is Hamish Callum, project manager for this project. And then we also have a few other staff assisting us. Clarissa Johnson assists with our bookkeeping. Karen's worked with her plenty. We also have Brittany Darnell assisting on some pieces as a water resources specialist. And then Stephania and Amanda, they've actually been working in tandem. And we've actually have Brianna Hardy, who's returned from maternity leave recently. He'll be taking back over her role in public affairs. So anytime you have things mailed out or any questions regarding the newsletter, how that reaches people, Brianna's been essential in getting all that distributed. Then our sub-consultants, everybody's familiar, I believe, with them so far. So Golden State, just a reminder, they assist with billing and oversee that, account management, and then Dennis Gatson is the president and an operator over at McMoore Water Services. They are the certified water operator for Keeler CSD. And then we also have Dan Radis, who is our legal counsel, who assists with any legal questions that they have. Just moving into the quarterly updates. Before I move on, did anybody have any questions just regarding subcontractor team or anything?
Nope.
So,
Macy's showing up.
was there a question there, Tanya?
No, we just had, we have someone else joining, so.
Jim Macy's here.
Yes.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah.
You have the
here you
sign up
go.
sheet?
Yeah, it's right here.
Is this fit?
Yeah,
one?
that's the sign up sheet.
Oh, okay.
For the sign.
Oh, I see.
This is the community engagement quarterly meeting for water. Yeah.
Okay. Showed up at 5 for the second.
Perfect. Actually, before we jump into those quarterly updates, I did just want to give Noah, it'd be great to just hear from you. It sounds like you're coming on board the Keeler CSD board as well. It sounds like we got a few board member updates there.
Yeah, I am in kind of a limited capacity to be able to make sure we still have a voice and things like that. My schedule's pretty full. So I mean, like today, I'm currently driving, so I may drop out depending on signal, just because between work and family and stuff like that. But yes, I am joining on, and I've been on the board previously for 2 years, and help out with emergencies and things like that. But yeah.
All right, perfect. Oh, thanks so much for coming on board. Really appreciate it. Supporting KCSD, and yeah, any questions, feel free to always give us a call if you have anything you want clarified, or yeah, any general questions about the administrator role. No worries.
For sure, for sure. I mean, biggest thing that I had that at some point in time we brought up would be just emergency repairs, and time frame of getting those repaired, because the last one that we had was not good.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. We'll discuss that a little bit later on, but I guess while we have you on the line, just in case you cut out, which repair were you referring to? Is that the one behind the Keeler firehouse?
No, the one that was on Old State Highway, on the empty lot that had the broken water
Hmm.
feed, that broke. It was, I mean, one, it ran for far too long because it was after hours, and um and the subcontractor coming from Bakersfield, and two, it was just about everything I could do to keep my garage from flooding.
So that was right, the one right across from your house, Noah.
Yeah, correct.
Next to the house.
Yeah, and Karen, I'm assuming that's the one that you had called me about. We shut off the valve there.
Yeah, well, no, well, we walked down there, Hamish, you and I walked down to towards the edge of town.
Mhm,
And yeah, they did shut off the valve there,
mhm.
right, Noah, to get that stopped? Were you able
Uh,
to the valve?
yeah, they put a shark bite connection on it with a quarter turn valve because it broke on the service side of the meter.
Oh, yep. Another one discussing. Yeah, that one was. I apologize for the delay in that one as well. When they got out there, they thought it was just the meter, and so they hooked on a straight pipe, and then they realized it was actually the curb stop. It's cracked as well. It appeared. So yeah, it was bringing other pieces back and doing a further fix. So it definitely got delayed longer than we would have liked. Apologize for that one, but yeah, we'll discuss we are working towards potentially having a backup operator under contract who might be more local. The issue with that is one that we've been discussing with, he is only out there about 50% of the time. So it would be dependent on whether he's in Darwin. It's the operator over at Darwin. So a little closer, but he does split his time between the Bay Area and out there. So as a general contractor that works with, but we'd have to have them under contract for any emergency response.
I gotcha. I do have somebody at one point in time, if we need, that has a D1 and a D2, D1 and a T2, that's in Lone Pine and lives there full time. I mean, they're not a general contractor, but as a backup emergency personnel, he might be a good option.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great to get his details from you as well, because
I'll
that's
I'll
something we've been wanting to
I'll
have.
talk I'll talk to him, and if he's okay with it, I'll pass his information along.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Perfect. Then just moving into some of the other quarterly updates. So post admin drinking water plan. So we've discussed that at the last meeting a little bit. So that is just the plan basically for Keeler CSD after our administrator appointment is completed. Right now, there hasn't been a long-term consolidation partner that's been locked down. Unfortunately, Inyo County has been very hesitant with one potential consolidation partner we'd been in talks with. That was with Indian Wells Valley from Water District, and they were potentially willing to look at managerially consolidating some systems in Inyo County, but they would want the support of the county and support of those systems, obviously. And Inyo is just very hesitant about anybody outside of the county being involved with the consolidation there. So those discussions are still ongoing for a long-term consolidation partner. Right now, the plan is still just for management to revert back to Keeler CSD. Hopefully, have the system built up and in a place that it could go back to that. I think the state's long-term goal is still to find a system that's able to spread costs, a larger system that they're able to spread costs throughout their customer base for, and just have managerial oversight of the system. But as you're all more than familiar with, it's difficult finding large systems that want to operate in some of the isolated areas out in India. So that is still moving forward, ongoing. As I just touched on, there have been discussions with Tom Landry over in Darwin. He's a contract operator over there for Darwin. And then he does split his time, unfortunately, between the Bay Area, but he is looking to move out there full time. So that is just an ongoing discussion that he may build up his business to be able to take on contract operations of a few systems in India, which would help us keep costs down significantly, hopefully. And the catch there is that he is not wanting to have a water company that takes over full management of water systems and governance of water systems. So that is just an option for contract operations potentially. So the main piece there is that we still need to find a system that would be willing to take over governance of the Keeler water system. And otherwise, our administrator appointment has actually, the state has asked us to extend our appointment until end of February 2026. So right now we're contracted until beginning of February 2025. So just months away now, beginning of next year. And the state has asked that we stay on board just until February 2026. We hope that the CSD board is in support of that. With that comes O&M funding still to help support and subsidize the system, and then everything that we've been completing as administrator. So we've already submitted our request for that extension for O&M funding, and we are submitting our work plan extension as well. So it'll be approved hopefully quite quickly. And otherwise, yeah, that's just the update on the extension of that order there. Wasn't sure if anybody had any questions just on that extension.
No, I was just wondering what the process was, but it sounds like you're just waiting at this point for the approval on the O&M funding.
Yeah, so for the O&M for payments to any subcontractors and just any operations maintenance work, that is all done under the O&M grant. So we submitted that over 2 months ago now. So we're just waiting on approval for that extension to February 2026. Otherwise, our work plan, that also needs to be extended, but we're just double checking some numbers there, making sure that we have sufficient budget for another year. I think it's just going to be some shifting around, but likely won't need an increase there.
Yeah, so in the process, we're just waiting for the state to approve the
Right, so
extension.
yeah, I think that, when a plan emerges, then we'll be able to get the public input to see if there is, community support that way. But I think these things are running pretty smoothly. I mean, I don't see anyone objecting to that.
No, we all know what's going on, it's here. We can do meetings. So.
I haven't heard any objections.
Okay.
So we'll find out. Jim? Another year, Phyllis and Pitcher.
What did you say?
Provost and Pritchard has been asked to extend their administrative program for another year. They've been asked to do that by the state.
Well, it makes sense to me, but it's premature to quit now.
There's not, since there's not a long-term solution in place yet, or they're extending it by year.
We all agree, it's here.
Yeah. Town core.
That would have been my question. That would have been my question as well. Was that I mean, if I'm misunderstanding this, correct me, but that at the end of the 2 years, basically control would have been handed back to the CSD with a functional, plan in place to continue on. And as far as I see it, there's still some work to be done on that.
Yeah, correct. So the state really wants to see that there is going to be, that sustainable system moving forward. So returning it to the, I wouldn't say previous state, but without having, a solution in place for the arsenic and manganese contamination, having a primary source that's, not dealing with that contaminant issue, they would, struggle to just hand that back to KCSD without providing funding for some solution first.
for sure.
And so we're able to just help administer all of that and deal with all the ground paperwork behind the scenes as well. And otherwise, next update just in regards to PFAS sampling. So we did let everybody know on the last call that some PFAS sampling was completed on May 22nd of this year. We did get results back for that there was a non-detect result for all 26 forever chemicals out there that were sampled for. That means that was below the 2 nanograms per liter non-detect limit. So that's great news to hear. There at least it isn't a PFAS issue that we're going to have to deal with. Because if there was a detect result above those limits, then we'd likely have to engage with quarterly sampling from then on. But good news there that Keeler will not have to.
Yeah,
And if you wanted to look at the specific results for any of those individual chemicals, just on the state drinking water information site, we do have a link there on the slide notes. But you can search that up publicly, and then you just type in the Keeler as a system name, and that'll all come up on all the monitoring results there.
great.
That's all public information.
I have all that wrote down.
It's right here. Tanya put it here.
Okay, making sure.
And then in other sampling news, we did have lead and copper sampling completed. So thank you, Karen, for assisting with that. Really appreciate it. We had 5 households. We'd take lead and copper samples from inside their residences. Those are dropped off back at the firehouse, and McMoore returned those to the lab in Bakersfield, Pace Labs. Yeah, every one of those came back under any action levels. So again, those individual results are all available on that same drinking water information site. It's public information, but they all came well below any action limits. So there were no red flags there, which is also good news. And that is just required every 3 years for each water system. So it won't be something we'll regularly have to do. That may also change. I don't know if you all saw in the news, but it sounds like they're having a lot of new policies come in place for lead and copper rule. I know the federal government just implemented or just mandated that all lead service lines be replaced the other day. So that's going to be a big undertaking in the next decade or two. And luckily, it does look like from our lead service line inventory that we completed as well. It's completed on the 2nd of October by more. They found that in the inventory that all connections are galvanized steel or Schedule 40 PVC. So we didn't have any indication of lead surface lines out there. So that's all being submitted to the state. Completed the requirements there on the lead and copper rule revisions. Those are updated requirements due by the 16th, so tomorrow. And yeah, all complete and up to date there. Anybody have any questions just on the lead and copper?
All right.
Otherwise, it's good news for Keeler on that front. Unfortunately, we didn't have to deal with the arsenic and manganese. A little easier. Chlorination for the system has continued as usual. Arsenic quarterly samples came back at 89 micrograms a liter, so that is up by 10, 79 in the last quarter. Manganese was slightly increased to 97 from 92 last quarter. And then for reference, arsenic, the MCL maximum contaminant limit there is 10, so 89 is significantly over that limit. And then manganese, the limit is 50 micrograms per liter, but that is still just considered a secondary contaminant for the water board. But those are still, sitting around the same levels that they have historically. And then just going into incident reports that we've had in the past quarter. So August 20th, we were flagged on the leak reported behind the Keeler Fire building that did stem. This is actually the one I got them mixed up. So this one was the one from the private residence where it was cracked at the meter and curb stop. So as we already addressed that one, now it sounds like we need to improve emergency response procedure with some backup operator out there because as you said, that wouldn't take a high classification of operator to get that replaced. We could have a D1 come out, get that done. We just need to have somebody under contract who's close by. So they're absolutely happy to work on that.
Well, even if it's not necessarily to get it replaced, even if it's just to put a stirred pipe connection or a glued connection with a quarter turn valve to stop the leak so that we're not losing water or flooding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the meter hasn't been replaced out there only because it's just a cost to order a new one, and nobody is being billed right now at a metered rate. So that is just still straight pipe. We can replace that anytime, but for now we didn't think it was necessary to replace it with a fully functioning meter since all the meters are going to be replaced eventually anyways.
Sure.
And September 9th, that's when we had the issue behind the KCFC building. It's cold, and then was able to get that one addressed. It does sound like there is still a leak out there. I believe Karen, Tammy had texted before and said that there was still slight dripping coming from that one. Tanya, I'm not sure if you got a chance to take
I
a look at
haven't,
it.
because I need to know where it's at, so I'm hoping after the meeting we can go look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look at.
Yeah,
You know,
because that
how-
one should have absolutely been fixed already, but they had put a fix on it, and I don't know why it is still leaking. So that's why I want Tanya to get eyes on it.
Hamish, I was gonna say that both of those leaks
Mhm.
were at boxes which were probably damaged from being run over by head.
Okay.
Yeah,
For the equipment.
yeah, I don't know about heavy equipment, I mean, they're not, I didn't know this, but they're not, they're not certified for traffic.
Oh, they're not okay.
Yeah, and so you can damage it, just rent with a vehicle, it doesn't have to be heavy equipment. But I believe that in both of those cases, it was at a, meter box.
Mhm.
And that there was, likely it was traffic that created that damage. So I don't know what the solution is to that. I don't know. They are at the edge of the alleys. So they could be susceptible to traffic.
Right in the corners there. Yeah. Yeah. The issue for getting those replaced with a cement or probably rated box is the state is always pushing back on us on not making large scale, what they call capital improvements, just because they see that as all on the plans for when the system is fully upgraded.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
if there's, I want to look at other measures and see if we could at least put in maybe some small barrier, something to indicate that those are there. Because yeah, you're right. It's just very easy to run over this, especially on the corners or back sides there, where there's no
Yeah.
pavement or anything.
Well,
Yeah,
and the one across the street from my house wasn't even actually run over, it was run next to. And just the pressure of the heavy equipment collapsed the gravel around it and dropped the box on the line.
Hmm.
should be
It's all
able
good
to,
information there.
um. Let people know that they're there. And not to run over them,
Well, the problem is you have to be able to see where they are to not run over
put
them.
a big rock and.
And some of the weeds are this tall though.
I don't know if we would have enough cones, orange
Mark 'em
cones,
up.
big rocks, that would keep people from. That's
No,
not
but
a,
the
that's not a
grass-
bad idea, and it's also.
The
oh,
grass is 2 and 3 feet tall around there, so you wouldn't be able to see the rocks, like behind my house where they would.
We do,
I don't think people are running over them then if they're weeds. 3 feet tall over them.
Yeah, that's just a solution, we'll just grow weeds over them.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
it's something high vis for sure.
yeah, well, we do
Okay.
need to come up with a solution, and I was gonna say short term. If when the boxes are replaced, if they could be replaced with.
Yeah,
What do you call that, traffic?
HS20 rated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a.
that's
an
probably a long
option.
way off, so.
It is, it's
um,
a ways.
you, Certainly can
And it's expensive.
come up with a rock
Yeah.
or a post.
That's a big part of it. It's expensive to just start doing them individually.
The
Or
HS20 rated boxes are about $400 to $800 a piece, so.
Plus,
Yeah.
plus the installation.
Installation.
No.
So that would be part of a bigger, that would be, it, when the meters are replaced, most likely the boxes will be replaced with possibly replace switch with appropriate boxes, but we can't do that, any kind of large scale installing improvements.
Okay, well, in the
We have to wait
meantime,
for
how
the-
about we could put stakes with the flag. We could,
You could put stakes with yellow tape around, I mean, something stupid and simple.
Hmm.
Just to let people know.
The
If
roots
there's
are
nothing
pretty
there,
tall and thick someplace.
if
Yeah.
there's nothing
All right,
there, people don't know.
Yeah, Stephen, Tanya, and I will discuss some potential traffic control measures that we could just put in there. Yeah, pretty straightforward. At least give visibility there. And thank you for
Yeah.
flagging that.
I think we can talk about that too. KCSD.
Absolutely.
That take some key posts and pound them in and put that tape in.
I was thinking just wood stakes, inexpensive wood stakes. I wouldn't want it to do tire damage.
No, key posts.
Yeah. A,
No,
cer-
it's
a,
not.
Goes
a
high.
survey
Or pieces of
lap
tape
with blue
together.
tape would be,
4 pieces of cane for each one, it wouldn't cost anything, I'm using the right, all from the alfalfa bales, that nylon string. And so there's like little teepees, but there's 4, only this tall, but that's where the meter is.
Yeah,
And that's taller and that's free, it's
Uh-huh.
just us doing it or getting our friends to help us.
yeah, we can come up with something. What were you saying, Noah?
I think he was just saying, yeah, survey stake and then caution tape or something similar, high vis around there work.
Okay, well, it's good to know. And then, but that one leak, and let's go look at it afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Right, otherwise, Karen, I'm sure you've been aware of this one as well, and everybody, the communications failure at the wiring between the tank and the groundwater pump. Unfortunately, it failed in September. So we've been working on installing a radio transmission system. I know the electrician was scheduled to come out yesterday, but I haven't received an update yet. Tanya or Karen, I'm not sure if you've received one there.
It looks installed, so I haven't received, any more information though.
I did get communication from John. Where was it? I guess it is here. Um, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had reached out for an update yesterday and today, but hadn't heard anything back yet. So I'm hoping that that has been all wired and installed finally. So that'd be fantastic to have that up and running. And then we're also having a hardwire backup installed there for redundancy too. So that this won't be an issue moving forward if the radio signals go down or interfere for any reason.
Yeah, I think he said it was gonna be in today. I'll look for that.
I'll keep everyone updated when
Okay.
that finally is finalized.
Yeah, he's been going up there and he's been, of course, regulating it by hand. So turning the pump on and off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know that's been useful, but definitely time consuming. So hopefully that is all squared away already, if not this week, but I'll keep everybody updated on that wiring issue. Was on the emergency response side of things, we discussed that for a bit already, but there's a QR code there as well if anybody needs it for the contact for the Golden State emergency line. So the process there currently, Golden State, when they're notified, they notify us and the operator on one, as well as a manager over at Golden State. And so a few of us all get that message to make sure that somebody is being notified, even 24/7 basis. So their call center is always 24/7. So you can reach that number anytime. And then just repeating same message from previous meetings, but just that KCFC is Keeler Fire is responsible for maintaining the fire hoses and other equipment that's not connected to the water system. That's in line with NFPA requirements. Don't know if there's been any training or anything done on that side of things, Karen. That's
I
separate to
don't
the
think,
CS.
Ben,
Yeah.
no, do you know of any fire training? No, there hasn't. They had a community get together and it was a spaghetti feed and saying thank you to our supervisor, Matt Kingsley. But I don't believe that there's been fire training.
Okay,
Believe it or not.
Not a
Fire training on the system, the fire water, fire suppression.
That would just be on the maintenance of any fire hoses or fire equipment that they do have out there, but that would come directly from CAL FIRE. So we're just, yeah, to make that clear, we're not involved maintaining any of that, but hydrants and fire stands responsibility of the water system. So if they need to utilize any of those to test fire hoses, just ask that they notify KCSD so that an operator can be there in case anything goes wrong when they're doing
Okay.
so.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Then we have actually already touched on the post administrator plan. I don't think I had a lot more to add there. Just that, yeah, right now there aren't any voluntary consolidation partners. The state in the past does have the right to mandate mandatory consolidation, but as there's not really somebody feasible in the area, I wouldn't see them doing that at this point. It's more reserved for if there is a system right nearby that can connect the system, but they're unwilling to. The state does have that mandate ability, but we haven't seen that take place at all.
I had a
As we
question.
touched on. Yeah.
In the consolidation scenario, does that include taking over the management of both systems or one entity taking over the management of another?
Yeah, correct. So it'd be management of the water system.
So one system would lose its sovereignty, so to speak.
Can depend, but if it is just a larger system, I would estimate and I would anticipate in a consolidation with Keeler that yes, it would likely be Keeler giving up their management of the water system to a larger entity. It's not to say there could be systems that want to create new CSD or perhaps they want to come under Keeler CSD management, but there'd be issues with bylaws and ability of who could sit on the board, et cetera there. There are different configurations. They could create an entirely new water company who could take over the management, but yeah, it would be consolidated under one body. There are other forms of, they wouldn't call it consolidation, but just joint management. So they can have joint powers authority where some systems all share the same contract operators, but they retain their own management. There can be arrangements like that. So it's potential, but that would have to require that Keeler is willing and able to continue managing the CSD.
Well, when I was on the board of KCSD some years ago, I approached Matt Kinsley, our district supervisor, with the idea that the county hire a certified operator.
Yeah.
And that the small districts that can't afford to hire their own operator, share this operator and share in the cost of the operator. And he refused to consider it.
Yeah, that's been an option that we've discussed with the county. It would be really helpful if they would be able to manage just all these systems or have a contract operator, like you said. It's a great idea. Unfortunately, they just don't seem to want to continue or have the capacity to continue managing the systems that they do have. So when we've discussed them assisting with operations on Keeler, they're just already, at their wits' end. with management of the other systems.
I mean, they're shaking their heads like this the whole time.
Yeah, unfortunately, it sounds like everybody has a lot of capacity issues there.
Mhm.
And then just moving forward to project planning updates. So bottled water program is all moving ahead on schedule. Hopefully everybody's been receiving notices about bottled water deliveries. The next one is, I believe, the 17th, in 2 days. Has everybody been receiving their bottled water? All right, haven't heard any complaints or issues. Sounds like from Hazel's emails that everybody's able to get in contact with it pretty easily.
Yeah, I haven't heard any complaints.
Cheap and great.
Hazel's been, right on it. Doing a
Good
good
here.
job.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, we've definitely passed along all the praises that we've heard from Keeler residents over to them. So they're very thankful for the compliments. Otherwise, on the O&M funding, we already discussed the extension there. So as I said, that was submitted months ago. So we'll get into the financial health next, but that is going to look like a much lower number at the moment. It's artificially low just because of the amount of reimbursements we're waiting for. Those are being submitted. We're just waiting for the state to process all of them. And I am honestly, yeah, not sure what is taking so long on the O&M side of things. But that was submitted, yeah, early August. So it's been a couple months now. But will be extended to the end of the administrator appointment for the extra year. And then on the technical assistance side, so with GHD, they are working on their work plan amendment for additional tasks. So that's going to include a desktop well siting study and then installation of a test well in a location that'll be determined by that siting study, as well as a leak detection and meter study, which could go on for up to a year. It just depends how much water data they want to collect. And they'll want to get something that's at least portionally seasonally. But those are going to be additional tasks that they're going to be taken care of. So if we do have any, yeah.
Oh, what's a desktop well siting study?
So it's basically they're going to be evaluating potential well sites in the area, looking at all background well water quality data in the County area, any feasible regions, or not regions, but just locations near Keeler.
The difference is they're not going to be doing with that part. There's no drilling or additional sampling. It's all available information. So that's what desktop means.
Okay,
It's kind of a preliminary evaluation on what to look into further.
okay, so,
As opposed to test well installation, that's after they do a desktop well site study.
so we never did find out about the Dunn well. Did we? You know,
Yeah, no, we still have not. I haven't seen a location specifically for that. As far as I've heard from GHD, I haven't heard any further information on them being able to locate it either.
I've been to that well
Okay.
a number of times.
Whereabouts are you? Do you have perhaps an address or just general location, I guess? Yeah.
Bigger thing is we need an
Well,
owner contact.
Yeah.
It's a little ways up Slate Canyon Highway. Now, there's the canyon called Slate Canyon. There's a commercial slate operation up there at one time. And there was a road going to it, about 2/3 of the way to the slate line, the road's washed out. There's a spring further up the canyon. It always used to have a little bit of water. The well. Oh.
Is there a contact that you might know that would have any copy of a well driller's log or any
I'll look
information?
for it. I have the I have the, oh, I don't know what you call it. Could be the EIS for see, Dunn proposed a subdivision.
Yeah.
And at Dolomite, that well was meant to serve the subdivision. And I have the documents on that, so I'd have to look to see if there's any information on the well.
Yeah,
It's
that would be
about-
fantastic if you have any of that information.
It's about, well, it's no more than a mile up the dirt road that goes up Slade Canyon.
We would need, part of that is we would need current owner contact information if we were to do anything with that well, take extra, current samples or anything, so we need a current owner.
That, might have to talk to the BLM. Arlen Dunn's long gone.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson, what was Wilson's name?
Oh, Dr. Wilson?
No, his
No.
son.
Oh, the son.
Anyway, he was up there some years ago with people that were testing that well. Its water quality was better than ours.
Okay.
It was thought at one time to combine the two wells and bring our arsenic readings down. Well, all I can do is look for this information
Okay, that would be great.
and talk to my neighbor, he might remember, Earl Wilson. He was involved with that. I think Great Basin, you know, Earl was up there possibly with Grace Holder, Great Basin's geologist. I think Great Basin has data on every single water source around the margins of the playa. And I think that includes the Dunn well.
Well, and also there would be information on who the owner is at the county generally we could get ownership information.
I'm thinking that Great Basin, they've designated every water source, every well would have a name and information regarding the well.
So I think from my understanding, Hamish, at this point, that all that information we're providing for the desktop well study, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they're looking into all of that. So any information we can provide them, though, will help them with a better evaluation.
Grace retired.
Yeah.
So I know generally where Jim's talking about,
Okay.
too as well. Not this weekend, but maybe the weekend after. I will see if I can't punch my way up there in my side by side. And I may be able to get you a GPS pin of where that is.
Oh, that'd be great.
That would be
It's close
helpful.
to the road. Drive to it.
GPS coordinates would be great.
Yeah, that would be very helpful, because then we can confirm what parcel it is, and we might be able to track down contact info if it's not readily available. So
I'm
that'd
pretty
be a
sure.
huge help.
I'm pretty sure it's within BLM at this point, like Jim said.
It-
But
It's owned by BLM at this point.
I think so.
Okay,
I believe so. I think it was a patented claim when it was there. I don't think it was ever deeded.
But because our well is on BLM land now and we pay yearly to lease it.
Yeah.
So that might be,
okay, that's a good place to start. But yeah, if you could get us a location, like a latitude, longitude, or location information, that would be a huge help. Cause like, you know, we're getting, we have like general description of where it is, but we don't really have it. An exact location would be very helpful. So, Hamish will be right back. He had another call that he had to get onto. So next is the financial help. So like Hamish mentioned, cash balance is a little low right now because we do have a lot of O&M reimbursements that are being processed right now. So we currently have 29,398 as of the end of September. There's 25,000 in reimbursements from the bottled water grant, and then there's 22,000 in the O&M reimbursements that we're waiting on. So with the reimbursements, Keeler would have 77,000 once we get the reimbursements processed. Since McMoore took over, operation costs are significantly lower. We're not paying as much for the travel time since they're combining it with other work that they're doing out here. Our emergency response costs are down this quarter. There have been less repairs, as well as they've been able to do some of them on their routine visits instead of emergency repairs. We also were able to include the lead service line inventory in the routine visits, and we did not have to add on additional visits to complete that inventory. Hamish, are you good to take back over?
Yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. When you have somebody call you
Okay.
4 times in a row, it's, I always say if it's over 3, then fine, I'll check and see if it's on. All right over here. Yeah, thanks, Sonia. So yeah, I wasn't sure if anybody had any questions about that. That is really just to do with the O&M funding request extensions, or that we've already requested months ago. Just waiting for that to be. They've said at the state that it has been approved internally. So I'm not quite certain what the holdup is at the moment on getting that executed, but once it's signed and executed, we'll get that 22,500 back. And then obviously the 25,000 outstanding from bottled water as well should be coming in. It's been over 2 months since we requested that, and normally those reimbursements only take about a month. So not sure what the delays there are with the state at the moment, but we keep pushing them all the time to get these back in the account so we can get back up to a more regular level.
Yeah, that with those reimbursements, then that's our normal level
Yeah.
in there. That's good.
I agree.
See, yeah, yeah. So, but honestly, then you're running it like KCSD was. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that
Well,
is the goal, to not have
reality.
any extra costs for the system.
the main operating expenses are paid for through the O&M grant,
Right,
so. It shouldn't be a large expenses out of the Keeler budget. The Keeler's money coming in,
Right, so you are paying for the water operator.
yes,
Correct.
that
And
gets
not
paid out
out
of the, well, it gets paid out of Keeler's finances, and then we get
Oh.
reimbursement for those expenses.
Yeah.
That qualify, yeah,
Got it.
so. We do need some money in the Keeler account to be able to pay that every month and get it reimbursed.
Okay, let's go.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Pay your
Yes,
water
pay-
bills.
pay your water bills.
Yeah, because as you can see here on the profit and loss statement, sorry, on the revenue side, you can see the water service incoming. So that 5,500, that normally just goes straight into Keeler's balance and sits there. The state grants there, so that's 6,000 to come in. That's meant to cancel out all the expenditures, but sometimes you'll see a difference between the expenditures and revenue there, just with those delays in the payments being issued back from the state. Unfortunately, it is just a bit of a delay with these grant payment processes, but we keep them moving along. Does anybody have any questions just on the profit loss at the moment? We're trying to show this. This is just as of end of September, so a couple weeks ago. But we try to show this at every meeting, just keep as transparent as possible on finances.
Yep. Looks good.
Right, sounds good. And yeah, the main expense that's already paid up there is just the insurance premium, so that's all renewed at the beginning of the fiscal year. So for all systems.
Right.
And just moving on to last conversation on water rates and billing. So as you know, that initial rate study was completed, showed that the real true cost of operating Keeler just with the residents as is would need to increase rates significantly up to approximately 130 a month in the next year. That's just to pay for the system as is and create significant reserves recommended. This rate's obviously not affordable at all and is definitely not going to be implemented. It's far too high and outside of any affordability range for residents. So, but there is a standard 5% increase that we look at for all systems each year just to maintain with cost of living and cost of services provided. So we had discussed, Karen, on the previous meetings, having the board. I know we're having members unfortunately dropping out and coming back in, but we did want the board to serve as a bit of a rate advisory group and really give us your opinion on what you think rates could be maxed out at and an increase. I know we discussed previously $55 a month increase from the current flat rates. I know we also will need to straighten out some of the existing categories because there's just been some questions on how some of those categories were established in the past. And honestly, just for legal reasons, it's much easier for Keeler to just have a simple flat billing rate for all active connections. You normally differentiate those on industrial/commercial and residential, but we tend to like to keep them as flat rates just to show that they are covering the true cost of operating the system. And so I don't know if the board had any specific thoughts on these rates.
It's curious, Inyo County researched the rates for the Lone Pine Water District. You had a consultant come in and do it. And the consultant determined that it would be more affordable for the county to stick with a flat rate without installing meters and going to a metered rate.
And that's what Hamish said, right? That a flat rate.
Yeah, it would still be a flat rate at the moment. Eventually, it will have to be metered in the next 8 years. California has Senate Bill 552 that came in, and that has a number of water conservation requirements. But one of the main requirements is that all water systems in California have all connections be metered. So that's going to be residential and commercial, but that's by 2032. So there's a lot of time for that to happen. But so we obviously wouldn't look at installing in meters at this point, doing a metered rate. This would still just be a flat rate.
So how much the rate that I was floating to get community input from was $50. That's what I had recalled we talked about. And there was no, I think that what people said is that they wouldn't fight it.
Okay.
I mean, but that's also, you said $50, and so I don't know, but 55.
I think between $50 and $55, I mean, you're looking at 43 to 57% rate increase. I mean, I think with the boards discussed this before you guys came on and took over, that the rate increases should have started happening a long time ago. And I agree with that. However, I can't necessarily say I agree with a 57% rate increase right out of the gate. Personally, I mean, if it is what it is, end up paying it. But you're talking about having a water rate that's more expensive than Lone Pine at $55.
What is
Yeah, and that's the
Lone Pine?
problem. Sorry, go ahead.
Lone Pine is $50 a month. But
So yeah, we can,
they also have a drinkable water system, and
yeah,
I think that's where it comes in, is that you got, and granted, I understand, there's bottled water being handed out, but still, you don't have a drinkable water system, and having a rate that's higher than that, and with some people being on fixed incomes, there may not have been a bunch of pushback, people fighting it, saying they were going to fight it, but I I would put money on the fact that once you implement that, if you were to implement it at $50 or $55 at that much of a rate increase, you're going to get people that are going to complain.
yeah. So to talk through, I'm sure a lot of you already are aware from serving on the board, but the Prop 218 process has to be followed for any rate increase there. So just run through that process briefly. That would include a rate study, which we've already done an initial analysis on, but once there was a recommended rate from the board or proposed rate, I guess we would move forward with including that in the analysis. That would show a justification, show the exact numbers that would produce in reserves. That we then have to issue a written notice to all owners and tenants at least 45 days prior to that, then hosting a public hearing. So that's where we get the full community feedback. We then have to count protests at that meeting, and if there's a majority, which is anything over 50% of property owners or tenants submit those written protests, then yeah, rate increase wouldn't be able to move forward. So if there are fewer than half protests made, then it could be adopted and implemented, but we'd have to go through that entire Prop 218 public process first.
Right, and I think that was one of the comments from Christina. She was saying, well, we'd like some warning, but 218 by law, we have to do, it's part of the process. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or to give people so much time.
Yeah, to let
Yeah.
the renters know, or to let them know that it's going out. I think that,
We have to decide first before we do that though, so.
yeah, personally, I think that $50, because it is comparable to Lone Pine, and we will be presumably getting drinkable water.
Yeah, and that is where we have a really hard time with implementing any rate increases as well, because I understand the sentiment there. Increasing water rates for water that isn't drinkable right now is definitely a tough ask. But we just want to make sure that we're at least seeing some incremental rate increase. Water still can be used for irrigation, or perhaps if people have their own filtration systems they'll use. But again, yeah, it's not a standard system-wide drinkable water. So we definitely have a good time with that. But as I said, these rate increases are going to be seen across the board, especially if upon consolidation. It's going to be a large, at least a comparable rate increase to what we're seeing in the Neal County area. So we want to make sure the residents are also prepared for that. But we absolutely try and also keep it under an affordability index. So the state doesn't recommend that we go any higher than 3% of median household income. So that would be right around that $55 mark.
So, and that's, and like I said, I mean, I can see, having to jump a little bit. It just, I think there's going to be some pushback. So the page that you have shared up right now, where it says like 2024, 2025, and up through into 2025 and 2026, those aren't realistic numbers that are going to happen then.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, that was the state asked us to complete an initial rate study just to show what the true cost of running the system. They basically want residents to be aware of what those costs would be if there is no improvements made. There aren't going to be any consolidation, additional customers added, just what that would be moving forward.
Sure.
And again, these rates could never be enforced by the state. They never would be either. They're just completely unaffordable. So they just want to have a base level cost of operation to look at first.
For sure. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. So how much you're saying one rate, whether someone's using the water or not, or only people that are metered? is that what I understand?
No, so at the moment it would just be we're looking at just having a flat rate across the board. Because some of the customer types that the board has at the moment, you know, the occasional use with uninhabited parcel, with the connection turned off, it can be hard to determine what, you know, what defines occasional use. And that's where it could come into some legal issues there, just with the water board and making sure that that's a legal rate to have in legal rate classification to have in place.
So,
Yeah, I can see the occasional use thing because that's like my second water service is connected to my trailer, which we just use for gas.
what would that look
Well,
like?
So most systems use a by water use, so that basically, instead of having an occasional use, it's by how much water you use. You use more water, you pay more. And so usually systems have a like connection fee, and then it's water usage
Right,
plus a water usage. That's a pretty typical rate system now
right,
for most systems.
so meters would be automatically.
They're
read.
required now
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
so with the improvements that are going, like, once the improvement plans get approved, meters will be included. Because they're required now, so with any major improvements, we'll have to add meters, and that's a pretty common
It's probably
system.
a tiered rate
Yes.
based on the meter reading.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, right, so the more you use. the more you
Exactly.
pay.
Which
Well-
means if you're doing occasional use, you will pay less.
The more you use, the more you pay, so
Mm-hmm.
people that plant trees and landscaping that benefits the town pay higher or exorbitant water bills.
Mm-hmm.
So they're, in a sense, penalized.
That takes someone
For
who's
their
already
effort.
certified to read every meter too. It's not like just a
No,
different
it's
girl
a-
can do it.
It's not a person.
To go read the meters,
Smart meters.
It depends what kind of meters are installed, but
but right now they're ones that you
They
have
would be
people
smart
read
meters,
it.
yeah.
no, nobody reads the meters right now.
Oh,
They're not, your rates are not based off of usage, so there's nobody reading the meters right now. And they don't all work either, so.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
That's.
I think everybody
well, I
has one.
mean, traditionally here. There's been, movement that encourages people to grow trees.
Mhm.
And, I think it shows, there
Here in
didn't used to-
Keeler?
Yeah, there didn't used to be hardly any trees. You look at the old photos. And there were no trees. But-
Cameras.
Thermos. You can make those into trees. Anyway. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah, so
sorry.
that'll be, I think this will be something that we'll want to at least
Mm-hmm.
get moving and potentially start looking at that new rate in
Yeah.
the new year. Just because our next meeting with Keeler will be in January next year, so it'll be a good timing to just have it from the start of the year. Obviously, we'll have to go through the Prop 218 process, but we will definitely confirm with the board before we move forward on anything like notifying customers of a potential rate increase. But
Okay, well,
keep that in
we will
mind,
keep-
looking around that $50 mark.
We'll keep talking about it and getting input from
Yeah.
people. But it did go out in an email to all the email addresses that I have.
Okay,
So, and I just heard that from 2 people.
yeah. Part of the requirements for setting the rates is that it's, what is it, like an equitable rate, so. That's why a lot of times it ends up being based off of water usage, because you have to meet that requirement that you're paying
Someone
a
to read
fair
the
amount for
meter.
what you're using, yeah. So that ends up being a requirement that you have to meet with the meter when we're adjusting the rates.
Well, sounds good, Karen. Yeah, we'll keep in touch. Appreciate any updates and feedback you get from people. So that brings us towards the end of our meeting. Just noting dates again here. So next quarterly meeting is tentatively scheduled for the 14th of January. It's that second Tuesday of the new year. Karen, please just let me know if that needs to change for any reason. We can always work around any availability. And then meeting and bottled water notices. Karen, Tony, let me know that we just need to send you over a new copy of this unsafe drinking water alert, because that one was faded out on the board.
The like not to tamper with the system.
Oh,
I
that one,
think
yeah.
that's the one you
Is it,
wanted
is it, well, it was
for the
fa-
board. For the notice.
oh,
board.
for the notice board, it's faded.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's probably good, but we also need to post the contaminated, the arsenic and
oh, the
manganese.
arsenic amount. Can you
Manganese.
just send us what notices you want, we'll send those all to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can do
It sounds like
that.
it's a couple.
Was, I think that I probably could get it from the state water.
We can always just send it to you too, if that's easier for you.
Okay,
Just let us know what you want.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Karen, feel free to just text me. That's easiest. And we'll just get it sent out.
Yeah.
Then the bottled water delivery is on Thursday as well. So let us know if there's an issue there, but should be all going along as planned. I believe they're out there between 9 and 9:30 for pickup, and then they'll be delivering around as well.
Can I ask a question just before we get off, and if it needs to be tabled for another meeting or separate, that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
Question just coming back onto the board and that I've brought up before, and it kind of just fell by the wayside just because of things going on. Mapping of water valves in town and exercising of those valves. What, how would we go about getting that maybe as being, a line item that needs to be done? Because I know when we've had breaks in the past, trying to isolate that section of town has been next to impossible. One, because we don't know where all the valves are and what they do and what sections of towns they do, as well as some of them physically not being able to turn with 3-foot breaker bars on the end of it and being afraid of breaking the valve.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We've been discussing that with our operator, and his first response was just that so many of them are jammed that this would take a huge undertaking, and we would just really need to lay out a schedule for getting potentially a lot of them replaced. So we need to come up with a budget, and that could look like almost a capital improvement there.
And the lead
Tony,
inventory kind of took precedence over that because that had a deadline.
Yeah,
by
so the
tomorrow.
lead inventory was the first thing that needed to be taken care of on that timeline. But yeah, I want to have another discussion on and see if we can just get an actual schedule nailed down with the operator, X amount of valves each week that they're out here. We can have them all exercise, or at least a log of it. In terms of the mapping, I know Bailey was working on that, but since he had some health issues, that fell a little bit by the wayside. We've just been trying to pull as many as-builts or just maps, historical ones that we have. So we've got a few. I know Tammy sent over a couple as well. We've sent on, but I don't think they had many changes.
Yeah, so we have the maps we received from Keeler, like the as-built maps, but Bailey said he thought there were a lot more valves or connections than what were shown on there. So, I mean, if there's
Yeah,
additional
I agree
information
with him
available
on
to
that.
add. But then as far as like the operator locating, we'll have to talk to them about what's possible and what's reasonable for them to be able to do within our O&M budget.
Yeah, well,
So-
I know,
Excuse me.
go on,
Mhm.
Jim.
At one time, there was an engineer for DWP. I forgot his name, but his daughter mapped our system as part of a master's thesis.
Mhm.
I don't know where that map is.
I mean, it was on a disc too, they
It
also,
should be here.
yeah, I think it was turned over.
That's the one we have our map based off of, I think. At least I have a big one.
And
That,
it's a rough idea, but I mean, I've found I've gone hunting for valves before and found them nowhere near where the map said they were. And then a few years ago, there was a company that came through. I think it was part of a grant that was supposed to be locating things, valves and stuff like that, and where they were using witching sticks and stuff like that, and where they were saying there were valves, there weren't. You know, they were around the corner on a different alley. And you know, there's equipment out there that is locating equipment that actually sends a signal, you know, and energizes water lines. Now leaks and things like that help that because it causes bleed off. But I mean, there are companies out there that do professional locating for those. I mean, you know, I've located the line in front of my house before because I have locating equipment for fiber optic, and it's the same concept.
Yeah, so the big question is what we can include under our O&M contract versus what is too much that the state doesn't consider that regular O&M. So that's what we have to confirm if we can spend money on.
I have seen it on
Gotcha.
other
Okay.
systems that we've been able to pay. We've been able to classify it as O&M. So that
Okay.
hasn't been an issue on some other systems. So yeah, no, let us go discuss with the state and make sure that that's going to be eligible cost. And then, yeah, I agree with you. It could be worth just getting a pipe locating and locating service out there instead of sending out the operator and costing them, you know, paying those
Well,
rates for a week or two. Or
Yeah. Yeah, so it's something we'll check with more versus another person if we need to.
I wonder
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool.
um, if the valves, rather than be replaced, I wonder if they could be, vibrated
yeah.
and made to work.
Well, the methodology I've seen is paying yes, no matter what Noah is saying. We hook up two different electrodes and then just have a signal sent through piping.
But I think Jim's talking about for valves that are stuck.
Yeah, he's saying for seized valves.
Yeah,
That's kind of an operator question on what they can do. I'm not sure what they can and can't do.
But no, Julie noted, and we'll keep you updated on who we're going to use for that. That'd be good to get it all done. Also.
I know Bailey did a lot of work on that,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, if we could just get his work, at least that you could update what he's
Mhm.
done, cause,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he wants to give you perfect work, but whatever he has updated, I
Yeah.
think would be helpful.
That would be.
I'll keep trying to get that. So, all right. Do you, on that, is that part of what you need to submit, for your plan? Or to have that system map?
It's just
No,
better information is better, so.
Yeah, it'd just be beneficial to have. And I know the operator desperately wants that as well when they, you know, are dealing with valves or leaks, and it'd be great to just be able to identify exactly which one it is.
It'll also help when they're putting together estimates for replacing the lines, the better information we have on the lines, the better. And it would also make sure that we don't miss one if we know where they all are.
Oh.
So, because we'll be replacing the service connections and the system.
I can see you rubbing your head.
I know.
Like it's a headache. Ugh. Yeah, okay, we'll keep on that.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that comes to the end of the agenda I had today. Did we have any other questions? Thanks for raising that. No, we'll keep you updated. Anybody else have any other points you want to discuss?
Not here.
All right. Maybe everybody's getting tired, so appreciate you all sticking on. It's late. Sorry again, I wasn't able to be out there last time, or this time, but yeah, in January we'll be seeing you again.
Yeah,
We'll speak well before then, anyways.
To have some cooler weather. It's cooling off a bit.
I think, if maybe it's already in your plans. But to talk to Great Basin, possibly their current geologist. And find the locations of these water sources. And the data associated with them.
Yeah, I think the county, that there is a consortium of water. It's called, in your county water consortium, I
Mhm.
believe. And I think that is one of their main objects is to collect data on all
Okay.
that. on the-
Great Basin has established the data points on all the water sources around.
Certainly, they keep a close watch on our well and levels. On our water.
Yeah.
Do all waters.
How much you think they do, measure how much all the time?
Well,
Write it down, I mean.
yeah,
Well, that's something. We're kind of legal.
Okay.
could,
That's.
I'm
oh,
sorry, I was just gonna say, could we, I don't know. If, Jim has historic information on. The LAFCO, how the, local area formation, body would. If we have jurisdiction over adding areas like Allen's property to our,
I don't have. any,
oh, the sphere of influence. Cause Allen Aiken's, property isn't in our sphere of influence.
No, Alan Aiken's property is outside the district boundary. But a long time ago. 30 years at least. And I don't know what the right word is, but an exception was made. And he was, a meter installed, so he was served by the Keeler Water District,
Mhm,
even though his property is just beyond the boundary of the district.
mhm.
So, and in fact, he served on the water board.
I didn't know that, I mean, he has a lot of historic. Information, and I'm sure he'd be a great board member. But I wonder if they kept that out of the district boundaries for agricultural purposes, because they say that's one of the reasons why the LAFCO exists, is to
Mhm.
keep from urban sprawl. So Bailey's been disqualified because he doesn't live in the district.
Well, I heard that. To me, that's based on a complaint that somebody here made. Somebody with a agenda of hatred. I don't think that LAFCO just suddenly found this. Anyway, that's my personal opinion. It may be valid or not. You could certainly go to the county, LAFCO, ask your questions. But as I said, that property was voted on by KCSD to be served by our district. So,
Mhm.
and it was, that property is within the water system.
Mhm.
It wasn't a part, it wasn't within the district boundary, which is drawn on paper,
Yeah,
but it is within the water system.
yeah.
There is controversy at board meetings whether or not to allow that.
Mm.
Mr. Whitaker was adamant that the boundary not be extended. But as I mentioned, Alan Aiken served on the board.
Mm. Did he ever express any reason to not be in the district? Would he be against it?
What do you mean? No,
Well, cause so you could
Yeah.
actually do, you can, I mean, a board could request that the boundaries be just the line be drawn differently. And then, I mean, KCSD hasn't done anything wrong by supplying water. We can supply water outside of our boundaries. I mean, it's within our bylaws.
well,
Um,
I don't know, I can't speak for Aiken, but I think he or the property owner would be crazy not to accept water. What are they gonna do without water?
Isn't there pipes already there to that trailer?
In there what?
On Akins, isn't there KCSD water pipes already that goes on to that piece of land?
I believe so.
I
There's a
think so,
meter.
because Skipper was on the board there and I was like, I was just trying to put all that together. It's like, I don't think they have a pipe even like.
There are, yeah, they have pipes, they're served. So the way the information came, about the board and being able to be serving on the board was it came from the county. So Bailey filed his papers as he's supposed to file them for the election so that he could serve, 4 years. There's not enough people wanting to be on the board, but when he put his papers in, the county elections board notified me and said that he wasn't eligible.
Well, Aiken was on the board.
Yeah, they just didn't accept his papers. So and it's not just our bylaws. So our bylaws say that you have to be a voter within the district to serve on the board. And there is
But you can make a distinction between a district and the water system.
yeah, well, there is.
He's within our water district. Our water system.
Yeah, well, so anyway, I'm just wondering if it's okay if we talk to LAFCO and see if we can change our boundary, if anyone has an objection. It's just, it wouldn't
Because
change
everyone on
anything.
the board wants to, they want them, they are part of our town.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Yeah,
change
so-
anything except a drawing on a map.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There
I
are-
bet we do that, and hopefully they'll go with us,
Well- It used to be controversial because if you do it here, you can do it there, and
Well, we won't tell anyone, they have to read
et cetera.
the papers
I
to
know.
find out.
Well, they actually don't even have to be contiguous to the district. But but it has to be approved, by LAFCO, so that, and they are a local board.
So I'm gonna try, all they can say is no, I mean,
Well, that's what I'm asking. Should we go ahead and find out, we could, is there
I
any
bet
reason
you
why
are.
we
Well,
shouldn't?
Like, you could research it.
Yeah. That's
No, I wouldn't see any issue there,
Yeah,
Okay.
especially if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
talking directly
idiot.
with LAFCO.
I guess if that's what you're asking.
No, yeah, but I think it would, probably, it would have to come from you. Wouldn't have to come from, the request because you're administering the
You could do
district?
it.
I don't think so. I think you I think a board member could do that.
I think you could do it on your
Yeah.
own.
Well,
I think
that's
the
true, 'cause
board
the
could do
property
that.
owner could do
Yeah.
it, Actually, so an
Anyway.
individual could, okay,
But hey, maybe we need to confirm that, but I think the board could make that change. Unless it involves funds, then we'd have to approve it.
but so
So-
it's a request, I don't think it
Unless
involves
there's a fee
funds.
that goes with it.
Oh,
So if there's a fee, then we'll have to,
Well,
May-
first-
just
first
process
you could
that.
You're talking to the right authority.
Yeah.
You could describe that, the person is within the water system. And that people on that property have served on the board of the water district before.
sometimes changing boundaries like that in like larger cities involves like a study, but with this, they might not. I'm not sure what they'd require. for this.
Yeah,
Um,
well, maybe we could check with the
Mhm.
legal advisor.
just check if you guys are able to make that change.
Yeah,
Keep
and,
checking about that.
yeah.
I think the big thing again would be just if there's a cost involved with changing it, then that's where we'd have to just approve that,
Okay, and.
but we'll confirm.
And I'll do some more research. But Noah, we're so glad to have you back on the board. Thank you so much. Let me put on 3 exclamation points there. But I think everything's been covered.
All right.
Yeah, not a problem. Hopefully I'm not getting myself into something else, but you know, hey.
Well, supposedly a board of directors should be advisory. And so, you know, it's really nice to have a team, actually. Provost and Pritchard has a whole team that they can call upon. Wow, okay, I'll call my team member. So, but thank you.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna close the
other-
meeting to an end. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, any other questions or comments?
Oh, I had a question.
Yes.
You could answer it if you want. If Hamish wants to. The SB 552. Does that say that anyone that receives water must have a smart meter installed?
It doesn't have it doesn't require a smart meter, but that would be what majority of systems are going for these days. But
So
it's
it's
not
just
smart
that
meter.
they have to have a metered connection.
All right, and then is that true also of every well, public or private?
No, if it's private wells, they're not adherent to those requirements. It's just for public water systems.
I've heard that
No, those are.
by 2032, that all wells, public or private, must be monitored.
I'll have to double check on the private wells, but as far as I was aware, they didn't have to have any flow meters on there. Because
Okay.
they're normally regulated just by counties.
Hamish, I think it's referring to ag wells. Ag wells will have to be metered,
Yeah,
at least in where you've got groundwater sustainability areas. But private domestic won't be.
Oh,
because the usage is
all right.
higher for ag wells. So there's the concern there. Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Anything else, or we're ready to call for the evening?
I think that's everything from in person.
Is Fiona still on?
Yes, looks like it.
Oh, Fiona, I just wanted to let you know that you won't be getting the electric bill anymore, and sorry that
Oh,
that.
gee, thank you.
Well, I was wondering why you hadn't paid. You're supposed to be paying that
Sorry,
bill
not
for-
paying that one. That was a big surprise. Yes, thank you.
Anyway, they've been on top.
Okay, thank you.
They've been on top of it, so. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for
Okay.
tuning in.
All right.
Thanks, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, good night.